The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show as we continue the summer of 2015 at 10. A look back at the movies from the summer and pop culture that surrounded them. Joining me, as always, from Puck News and the Outside Scoop, which this week is simply titled Chocolate City. It's 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream with chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and chocolate sprinkles with a full banana on the side. Scott Mendelson.
Always a pleasure. Is it a chocolate-covered banana?
If you'd like it dipped in chocolate, you may.
Okay.
All right. No peel, though. No peel. And from We Live Entertainment, now with Aaron and Abe, heading out west to the land of tomorrow, but very slowly, Aaron Neuwirth.
Is that banana coming XXL, or is that like an additional cost?
I don't run the Outside Scoop. I can't tell you that. So.
That's why you gotta.
Yes.
I just read the specials, the copy that Scott sends me every day before this episode. Here's our special. Oh yeah, the audio people can't see you saying no, I don't.
Well, give something for people watching on YouTube.
True. This episode we'll discuss the films releasing May 22nd through 24th, 2015. This is the Labor Day weekend. A fun time at the theater. And let's see if we had a fun time this past week in the news.
It's been a long day without news, my friend. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
All right, that's pretty much all I got. The only thing I have left to do for the last time on a television program. Thank you, and good night.
May 19th is where we begin. The historic first handshake between Prince Charles and Sinn Féin leader Gerry Adams at the National University of Ireland in Galway.
Great.
Mm-hmm. That's
no more troubles for you.
Nope.
Thanks, Kenneth.
It was yeah. No, nothing like Brexit will happen, right? No? All right. May 19th, UK inflation is recorded as a negative for the first time since 1960. Yeah. They handled Joe Biden's problem, right? Took them that long to get over his problem. Yeah. Yeah. May 20th, 5 major world banks, including JP Morgan, Barclays, Citigroup, RBS, and UBS, fined for $5.7 billion for manipulating currency markets, some of the largest ever fines handed out.
Well, I'm sure they learned their lessons and never did it again.
It never happened again.
That was the slap on the wrist that mattered. Yeah. In an interesting turn with the summer of 93 to now, we got these connections happening. I love it. It's fun. David Letterman hosts The Late Show with David Letterman for the last time, ending 33 years in late night television. So in 93, we saw him leave late night to hand it off to Conan O'Brien, and now he's leaving the late night business 22 years later.
And he never shaved again.
Yeah.
I was...
Well,
that's why they're called quips and not slopes.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I read this, I'm like, holy crap, he's been off the air for 10, like, Colbert's been on for 10 years there. Like, wow, it doesn't feel like it at all. So, craziness. May 20th, journal Nature publishes findings of the oldest human-made tools from Kenya's Turkana Basin. They were 3.3 million years, first found to predate Homo genus. Which
Muzzle?
yeah, old tools. Yeah. Said tool. I don't know what the tool was. It was going to make up.
Did they still
funny.
work?
Yeah, did it still work? Clean it off, fix it up, spruce it up. On May 20th, a NASCAR 2016 Hall of Fame inductees: Bobby Isaac, Terry Labonte, and Jerry Cook. For all of you NASCAR fans out there, we don't ignore your news. On the 21st, Flava Flav is arrested near Las Vegas on charges including, Scott?
Too much time on his hands?
Murder?
That's a good pun, Aaron, but
Come on.
speeding and driving under the influence.
Oh, well, yeah.
There you go. The next day,
Did
Ireland.
you, was murder a joke answer? Like, what was that answer?
Yes. I don't know.
Oh, hit someone with the clock.
Driving,
That it's
drunk
about
driving
time.
isn't particularly funny, so I figured if they were going for a joke, you had to,
There you go.
murder, arson, treason. I don't know.
One of the things.
It's funny. Come on. If you said Flava Flav was arrested for treason, that's inherent. That's funny.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
true.
Fine, we can re-record it. We'll go back. Ask me again.
No, absolutely not. Note to future Brandon self: do not do what Scott says. May 22nd, Ireland becomes the first country in the world to
Legalize. No.
oh.
I mean, did they legalize gay marriage before we did?
Yes,
Yeah.
by popular vote, they legalized gay marriage. On May 22nd, Netflix announces that Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen will not appear on the Full House revival.
And they stuck to their word.
Yeah.
Goddamn heroes.
Yeah.
Can't say the same about numerous other 90s sitcom stars. So props to the Olsen twins, star of one of the worst films of the last series that we did here.
Yes.
But when it mattered,
back in the news,
they were heroes.
Yeah.
When it mattered, they were heroes.
When it mattered.
There's 3 Olsen heroes this summer: Scarlet Witch and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Yeah. Which two are the real heroes when you think about it?
Yeah, one didn't need to be stopped because of her excessive use of magic. So the Olsen twins actually do win. If anything,
Exactly.
they stopped magic a long time ago when they made Double Bubble Boil and Trouble. They've been dealing with witchcraft for years.
We've seen Olsens and witches before. I don't need to go see the Avengers movie.
We'll never know what they sacrificed for us.
Right. So that same day, upon reading the Olsen twins news, Pakistan began the first test playing national cricket tour of Zimbabwe since 2009. The next day, on May 23rd, the 60th Eurovision Song Contest happens. Måns Zelmerlöw for Sweden wins singing Heroes in Vienna. And then on May 24th, the 68th Cannes Film Festival, Deepan, directed by Jacques Audiard, wins the Palme d'Or. Yeah, a 20-minute standing. How long was the standing ovation for that one?
It wasn't long. I know that for a fact. That's a Criterion Blu-ray that I did review for Why So Blue.
Keep clapping!
It's one of the weaker Palme d'Or winners.
Yeah.
And it's a film that I think is fine. It's Sri Lankan, but made by Odiard because that man could not stay in his own country for too long. Evidenced by, I assume, by now, Best Picture winner Emilia Perez. And it's a film that I'm sure is definitely still in the conversation this May.
Oh my gosh.
You know where it isn't? Anywhere to be found on the Netflix viewership charts.
Really?
Like still?
Because, well, I mean, in the future, I can't say.
Future.
Maybe for some reason in May of 2015 it popped up there, but so far, no.
That's impressive because I thought all the like news it was getting. We should definitely be talking about Emilia Perez on this podcast right now. I thought that would be propping it up because of that.
You would think. I checked. No.
Okay. Well then. Moving on to our next day. The same day. The Indianapolis 500, 2000 champion Juan Pablo Montoya of Colombia sets the record for most years between two victories in the race, 15 years. The same day at the IPL cricket final at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata, Mumbai Indians beat the Chennai Super Kings by 41 runs. Lendl Simmons tops all scorers. That's cool. And for Aaron here, we got some golf at the Senior PGA Championship at the French Lick Resort. Defending champion Colin Montgomery of Scotland wins by 4 strokes from Mexican Esteban Toledo.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And the deaths this week, Raymond Gosling, a British scientist involved in DNA structure research. British senior civil servant Brian Cubon. Lewis Johnson, the American rock bassist and vocalist for Brothers Johnson. British Vice Chancellor John Harlock. Marquise Haynes from the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame from the Harlem Globetrotters. Anne Mira, American comedian and actress, and mother of Ben Stiller. John Carter, the guy who went to actor from Scarface and Badlands.
He did all this. He went to Mars and he came back and became a prominent actor. Civil War reenactor too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. John Nash, the American mathematician that was the guy Beautiful Mind was based off of. He died at 86 in a car crash.
I guess I'll stop with the joke that I was going to go with.
There you go.
Now I want to hear it.
Yeah, what was so funny about his death, Aaron?
In real life, hideous.
Oh, and on May 24th, Tanith Lee, British science fiction author, of the flat Earth cycle, dies. And
they erected a statue for him this year in, I assume, April 2025, thanks to a promotion by Elon Musk.
And then we have a wedding this week. Actress and model Michelle Keegan weds TV presenter Mark Wright.
Okay.
Congratulations.
You're just right.
Yeah. Who was shipping that couple? Anybody? No?
Probably Shirley from Community. She ships a lot of couples.
Right.
But that's Nicole Brown. She's always shipping people.
All right. Next, we will head on over. Huh?
Birthdays.
No, there's no birthdays.
Well, I think there's one.
Saturday the 23rd in Los Robles, California, the Antichrist was born 10 years ago.
Oh, which one of your kids is that?
Owen, obviously.
Owen Mendelson.
The one with the tattoo on his neck.
Yeah.
He's got the birthmark of the Satan. Yeah, okay.
That's why Liev Schreiber famously hates Scots. That's an A+ joke.
That is good. It's taking it back to summer of 2005.
Summer of
06. Yeah.
Which now I have to share the anecdote I share whenever anyone mentions that movie, which is that I took my then girlfriend, eventual wife, Wendy, to see it on the Sunday of opening weekend. And we got Cold Stone ice cream beforehand, and the order came out to exactly $6.66.
I remember that. You kept the receipt. You showed it to me. We went to something like the next weekend. You're like, check it out.
I should have kept that.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, you went to Cold Stone where you could get chocolate ice cream if you wanted. Was it in Studio City, the Cold Stone?
No, Calabasas.
Oh, damn it. So it could have been well, we're talking about Chocolate City, which played in
I lived in Studio City in 2006, if that helps.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
As I lived in North Hollywood, the next city over. What a fun time.
I'll drink something too.
There we go.
We sell fantasy, not sex. Sex has an ending. Fantasy never ends. Now, we gonna add a little chocolate.
Hi, Carmen. What do you want? Let me take you out this weekend.
You don't even have a car. You gonna pick me up on your bike?
And here's your check.
It's gonna be tight around here for the next few months. My schedule's been cut.
Hey, what happened to the dude you met the other night? He said he had a job. I manage this place. Give me a call. Whoa. You'll be fine. They know it's amateur night. Get dressed. You're under 2 minutes.
The one and only. Dude, what's his name?
Sexy chocolate.
Sexy chocolate.
That kid, he'll never be me.
No, you'll be better.
There's no room in this place for both of us. Welcome to Chocolate City.
Playing in 15 theaters, directed by Jean-Claude Lemaire, written by Jean-Claude Lemaire, starring Robert Richard, Tyson Beckford, D. Ray Davis, Vivica A. Fox, Michael Jai White, Darren DeWitt Henson, Genuine, and Carmen Electra. Life for a struggling college student changes in an instant when he meets the owner of a male strip club who convinces him to give amateur night a whirl. This was released in limited theaters and PVOD concurrently, and then debuted on BET a few weeks later. It did spawn a sequel, Chocolate City Vegas Strip on Netflix in 2017. What? Two sequels. Okay. Okay, well, the second one features most of the cast returning and adding Mekhi Phifer, Spice Girl Mel B, and Kathleen Robertson. So you know they were
no
serious.
movie if there's no Mekhi Phifer.
No, there's no movie. So what's the third one called, Aaron? Since you're the
I forgot the title offhand. I can look it up. But
Farewell to the Flesh?
There's a third one that does not involve the same director, but there is a third one.
Rise of Chocolate City Walker.
Die Chocolate Die?
It's called Die.
That's a very niche joke. Which,
That is a good one, though.
Live tour
Live. Oh, okay.
with
Gotcha.
Tom Skidmore.
Surprised they didn't make Chocolate City.
Well, it is the same director. He did come back.
Yeah. Chocolate City
Very good vision.
XXXXL. So, Aaron, you're the expert on Chocolate City apparently today.
Am I?
So, what'd you think of like Black Magic Mike, basically?
Well, on the surface, for one, I didn't know this, or if I did know this movie existed, I forgot. But I didn't know this movie was out there. And on the surface, when the initial idea was we wanted to make a movie with black characters as strippers, because Magic Mike is curiously absent of a lot of melanin. So on the one hand, I'm like, that makes sense, and it is a little bit weird that there's a Magic Mike movie where there is no black people, which XXL, which is coming, does resolve. So in like a vacuum, the idea of let's capitalize off the success of this very specific thing that would play to a specific demographic makes a lot of sense to me. The problem is the movie's just not good. It's in fact quite bad, making me wonder if we're going to be in an open water situation where the sequel is actually better than the movie. But no, I mean, there's just not a lot going on here. It's a very rote story that feels even like blank of even the like Magic Mike. What works about that movie, among other things, is that it's Soderbergh and Tatum. They have things they want to say that reflect like the socioeconomic society at the time and what have you. Like there's elements there that enhance that movie along with having just a genuine amount of fun because of all these characters. This movie doesn't have any of that, and it replaces it with very boring drama that's very low stakes, like really, really low stakes. Like it doesn't even like even Magic, as much as I hate this as a plot device, even Magic Mike has characters with guns threaten people. This movie doesn't even get really that far. Like it just has kind of like one-upsmanship of I don't like that you're dancing better than I am, therefore I'm mad at you and I'm gonna beat you up. And that's pretty much it. Like that's the drama. Like and I need to hold back the fact that I'm dancing for my mom and my girlfriend. And then that resolves itself. Like there's not, and even by the end of this movie, it like just kind of stops. It doesn't really have an ending. On top of all of that, there are a lot of black actors that I like. There are many that I am not as big on, but none of them really do. No, none of the actors really do anything. So beyond the idea of there's a satisfaction from seeing some color enter this kind of genre of a film, it doesn't really capitalize off of it in any real way of note. And it's also weird seeing the lead of Cousin Skeeter stripping on stage. So that's my thoughts on Magic on Chocolate City.
Scott?
I don't entirely disagree. I did like seeing Michael Jai White in a
Yes.
character role that isn't an action film or even
No front
another
kicks.
melodrama. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And I think to one hand, I didn't mind that was so low stakes because I kind of liked that everybody was weirdly nice in a way that was almost surprising. Like, it's at no point does that character reveal himself to be a scuzzball. If anything, like, there's a scene where he gets injured and taken to a hospital, and Michael J was like, send me the bill, we'll take care of you, man. And spoilers, sorry, I kind of thought it was kind of amazing that when he finally confronts his mom about what he's been doing, his mom's like, okay, that's fine. I'm glad it's not drugs. I'm glad it's not anything illegal. But you're right. I mean, it sort of just exists. I think the first act, when it focuses on the economic reasons for why he's doing this, which one of the things I like about the first Magic Mike is it is, a drama about economic mobility and the challenges thereof. So for about the first 20, 25 minutes, I was enjoying it because, okay, this is basically, yes, it's Black Magic Mike, but it also remembers that Magic Mike was more than just cheesecake. That, it had something to say about the economic times in which it was made. But I feel to a certain extent...
Beefcake. Cheesecake, it does not imply the same thing.
Right. I apologize. But I think, unfortunately, once he starts dancing, the movie sort of becomes a very, oh no, is he going to hurt his friends and family by doing this? It's like, I don't care, partially because you've established the economic stakes well enough that it's like, it's worth it. He has to pay these bills. And if this allows him to pay the bills, that's fine. And I think to a certain extent, the film never really bothers to interrogate the notion of, we have to work for a living, but there's only certain jobs, legal or otherwise, that are considered socially acceptable to make that living. And frankly, one of the reasons I like Clerks 2 a lot is because it especially at the end, it basically becomes a film about how there is more than one way to achieve the quote unquote American dream. And as long as you get there, legally and with integrity and blah, 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 that's okay. And that's what I expected this film to be, but it sort of forgets to do that after the first act. And there are bits and pieces along the way that I like. Again, I like seeing Michael J. White in that character role. I like the eventual confrontation with his mother, which turned out to be, do what you got to do. I love you, whatever. But after the first act, it sort of just doesn't have any story left to tell other than a very generic, it's like, it wants to be a story about a rookie of the year type situation where I'm rich and powerful and I'm doing something great, but I'm forgetting who my real friends and family are. But it can't even really do that with any particular passion. So it just sort of just sits there until the end of the movie, where he gives up being a stripper for no particularly good reason, but then he does it right at the end.
Yeah, this is funny because, like, oddly enough, we get a Magic Mike knockoff and a Magic Mike movie in this same summer. which is funny. Yeah, I didn't know this movie existed at all until putting it together for this, and I like the actors in it. Like, this has a pretty cool cast, and they're all good in it. But the story is, I think it's like partially worried it doesn't want to tread back where Magic Mike was treading. Like, I feel that's a lot of it's like purposely trying to not hit some of the like same issues and stuff that can happen in that. Um, but it's also too much into the dancing without embracing the purpose of the dancing. Like, that's what one thing I liked about the Magic Mike series is like there's a craft to it, there's an art to it, there's a sales business to it, stuff like that. And this is just like, hey, I got this guy and here's my dancers and go out dance and it gets crazy. And any real like the conflicts don't last long enough or have too much meat to them when it happens. When they're doing it, like everybody's like, "Oh, like you're a stripper," and I guess that's right. Like, that's what. Granted, he has like, I guess I can see his mom being like, "Oh, well, you're doing this to try to help me out. You're doing this because that's fine." And his girlfriend's just like, and then she's like, "All right, well, I guess it's fine." It's there's nothing lingers too long in this movie, and the part where he gets the shit kicked out of him and stuff, that even goes by kind of fast and happens way late in the movie, where that could have been like an early something to start earlier or build or something like that. But I mean, there's just not. And there's options, there's ways to go, there's places to create the drama, but I think this movie just wants to show like a lot of dance scenes, and that's what it's kind of happy with.
What's funny is we're going to get to XXL, and without getting too far into thoughts on that movie, it's one of the most low stakes major profile release, and yet it's far more effective at doing that somehow.
Yeah,
partially comes down to just frankly direction, writing, and acting. But it's so what I'm saying is it's not as if that's impossible to do.
Right? Yeah.
Let's make a movie about strippers, doing their thing and have minor stakes because yes, how hard can these movies really go? That's fine, but everything you're saying, yes, I agree with. There's no purpose beyond just willing this into existence, which on a principle level, that's fine, but there's just nothing to carry it forward, except for the fact that there's 2 sequels, so clearly some people saw some value in what it's doing.
I mean, in fact, but I just want to, like, when I was in, like, when I saw the movie first, then I did some reading about it, and then I'm like, well, I didn't really get anything that showed me, like, the world of the black stripper being different or what happens to the black, like, because it seems like they wanted to bring the genesis for this movie coming to life was, well, black strippers, and then it just became, and I don't feel like there's enough here to be like, oh, that's why it's different.
In that regard, I would say when it comes to like black movies like this that don't necessarily need to rely on cultural obstacles regarding balance between races or crime or what have you that become a stereotypical plot point in certain kinds of movies. I think that's fine. If anything,
it's allowed to be like that. But when I was reading
I'd like a lot more of that. To say this movie doesn't characterize the black experience, I would argue it is. It's just not a good enough movie to really represent much beyond. We have these actors who would, they would address things in a way that is, yes, different to points, but the movie doesn't have anything to engage with. It's not a good enough movie on it, regardless, to make that matter. So
fair.
It's like,
oh yeah, that's fair.
It's like I do. If I'm watching like Tyson Beckford and Michael Jai White and whatnot, like those are actors that are doing things that only those actors would do, which doesn't necessarily have to scream black people, but it can scream specific personalities, and this looks like on film. The problem is, again, it's just not a good movie, so it can't do anything with that.
Well, Scott Adkins was initially offered the role of Black Dynamite, but he turned it down.
If they ever made Black Dynamite 2, Scott Adkins would be an amazing villain to have in that
movie. He would.
I think what it was trying to do, and this is why, again, for the first 20 minutes when I thought this was what it was doing, I was kind of vibing with it. when you have films, I would argue, like Hustlers, which is a much better movie.
Yeah, this
And,
was giving me Hustlers vibes a bit. Yeah.
Well, and also, we're going to talk about this later in the summer, Dope, which is where you take these prototypical stories that usually are told with white people, white male people, and the stakes are higher because it's life and death in a way that it wouldn't be for like Ferris Bueller. And while in a movie like Wolf of Wall Street or the Big Short, the payoff for succeeding is fortune, glory, cars, women, blah 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 blah. But for films like Hustler and even to a certain extent this one, it's just to pay the bills. It's just to survive.
Right.
And I think that's, if the movie had leaned more into that, especially after the first act, I think that's what it wanted to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Just it's got a 90-minute runtime and just and a lot of, and you have a big cast like this and get to spread it so much that you're limited. But no, I get you. But yeah, I didn't think this is a very good movie to begin with, so that's part of the problem. But we'll get back to male strippers later in the summer. But for now, we'll move on and head on slow.
I'm glad we'll have a redemption.
Yes. We'll head slowly on over to our next movie, Slow West, opening in 28 theaters.
Let's drift. Let's catch.
Ah!
Breathe. Are you headed west? Breathe. West. It's big trouble. Breathe.
Directed by John McClane. Written by John McClane. Starring Cody Schmidt-McPhee, Michael Fassbender, Karen Pistorius, Ben Mendelson, no relation to Scott, and Rory McCann. A young Scottish man travels across America in pursuit of the woman he loves, attracting the attention of an outlaw who is willing to serve as a guide. This one features cinematographer Robbie Ryan, who is Yorgos Lanthimos' cinematographer. They planned to shoot this in 35 millimeter, but shot it digitally, and so it just ends up being the case of a good cinematographer knowing how to use his tool. This won Sundance Institute's World Cinema Jury Prize for Dramatic. This theatrical release was also simultaneously with PVOD. We will start with Scott on Slow West. Desperado. Desperado.
I mean,
I don't want none.
It's exactly what you expect it to be. In that, boy, the West sure did suck. And that, this is no country for anyone who isn't completely looking out for themselves, more or less. But it's so short. It's 85 minutes, including credits. So it basically gives you what you want. Some good character performances, some quote unquote surprising narrative developments, some gorgeous, it looks very nice. It is a solid, sturdy little Western. And then it gets the hell out of Dodge before you get tired of its key gimmick, which again, there's a certain, without going to the ending, which I think works, it ends almost exactly the way you'd expect it to, knowing that you're watching a very cynical Western. That being said, without reinventing the wheel, I liked it. It was good. It was entertaining, and I hadn't seen this one until now, which is weird because it got a lot of free press when it came out, because this was back when everyone was pretending that Michael Fassbender was a movie star. Spoiler: he is not. A good actor, maybe, but
wasn't there there was like a poll that came out that like they tested United States audiences said they were less likely to see a movie if he was starring in it.
Yes.
Like, Jesus Christ, this guy, Michael Fassbender's a tremendous fucking actor, but he just apparently is just repulsive to United States audiences.
It's because much like the real Beautiful Mind, hideous.
And which is weird is, this film comes out on PVOD and in theaters in the summer of 2015. But yet when I'm in the Zurich Film Festival, which I got flown out there from a client, it's the one and only time I've ever done anything like that, in September of 2016, that film was playing everywhere at that festival, like a year and a half later. So I was actually very confused when I saw it pop up on our list. But yeah, it's exactly what you're expecting, nothing more, nothing less. It's a solid, sturdy 80-minute studio programmer. Good acting, it gets the job done. I don't have that much to say about it in terms of superlatives, because I don't think it's particularly excellent in any way, but I don't think it does anything particularly wrong.
Gotcha. Aaron?
This movie rules. I love this movie. It's on my best of the decade list. In like towards the 90s, I believe, but still I loved it. I've seen it plenty of times. I saw it when it came out. I saw it multiple times over the years. I'm happy to have it on Blu-ray over there. Yeah, Michael Fassbender's especially in this kind of period, just putting aside some choices that he made major film wise. I think Michael Fassbender is one of the best actors of this generation. So I think putting him in something like this, I was like, great, let's see that. And then on top of that, you have Ben Mendelson having stolen Warren Beatty's coat from McCabe and Mrs. Miller, playing this guy who has one of my favorite lines of the last decade, which is "Kill that house." I love. What I love how economical this film is. You mentioned, Scott, that it's 88 minutes, and yeah, it gets in and out as far as what it's doing, but it packs it with so much stuff I like. I love a Western like this that's not even like a deconstruction or anything in the realm of what like Eastwood's doing in Unforgiven. It's just more of if anything, it's more in the line of like a proposition where it's about the harshness of the West without trying to break down the mythos necessarily. It's just reflecting on it in its own quirky kind of way. The movie has a sense of humor. It has a lot of violence that hurts. I think, what's his face? Speaking of Michael Fassbender, Nightcrawler. What's his Cody
Schmidt McPhee.
McPhee.
He's in a Western. It's probably good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think he's really solid here. Is this just in over his head, naive Irish guy? Like, it's just such it's a really solid kind of performance of someone that is like doomed. Like, this is not a guy that can survive this thing, and yet we want to follow along with his journey. Like, I like that. I like his pairing with Fassbender. I like where this story goes. I like that it's messy and complicated and mean. The various interactions that we have, because it's kind of an episodic film as far as, which is a lot of like these kind of like cross country journey westerns go. It's a lot of like, you meet up with this character, then you meet up with that character. I like that it has a sort of, it's playing with realism as far as, yeah, it's stark and it sucks in a lot of ways as far as the people that die and what's left over, what have you. But it still has a kind of dreamlike quality to it in the way that characters just simply look at the sky at some points or like whatever. Like, it has enough like value within what it's trying to do from a story standpoint that makes me wonder why this director hasn't done more since then, because it's a highly movie from A24, which seems like it would easily propel you to the next thing, and he's only done like one other thing, which it's not even out yet, I believe. I think it's in development or it's a production or something. So yeah, like it's weird. I never like say I'm like a Western guy, yet I love plenty of Westerns. Like, but I would never say I'm against Westerns either. But when it comes to certainly ones like these that are kind of off to the side of the road, whether it's this or I mentioned Proposition, or even something more major like 3:10 to Yuma, which I think it has its own kind of, it doesn't feel as standard as certain kinds of Westerns, I flock to those very quickly. I mentioned McCabe and Mrs. Miller, which is obviously, it's an Altman film, but it's still like, that's a weirder movie by comparison to, whatever.
It was an influence on this one too. That was
something more standard. So it's like, this one, it really evoked that kind of old-fashioned other Western spirit that you don't really get these days. And when I think about Westerns of this era, not a lot of noteworthy ones. But I think they're mostly modern westerns like Hell or High Water. So something like this that calls back to a certain time that has a fresh attitude on how to handle it. It gives me just some great performances that I really like. Yeah, I'm all about this one. I'm a big fan of Slow West.
Yeah, I like Slow West a lot too. I would love to see this on IMAX. Like that's how good this is. Like this does not feel like a first film. I mean, great, he made couple shorts and stuff before this, but like this does not feel like someone's first film. This thing looks and just plays so magnificently, like a master of their craft. I feel bad, like Cody Schmidt McPhee. Like you always feel bad for the guy in the Western that doesn't get to wear the cool Old West clothes. You know, like. Like the door, like, oh man, this is what I got on. Or you get the bowler derby hat and you're in the Western. You're like, God damn it, what am I, the barber? Shit. And it's funny because a year ago, or a little over a year ago, I got the Criterion set for the and I had never realized this watching it before. This is like the third time I've seen this. The Bud Bedecker renowned westerns, like, definitely feels like it could be one of those, but like modern made. Yeah, it's a good set. The cinematography evokes those quite a bit, and just like the simplicity. It's like those are all like really simple Old West stories. And this one kind of like character story appearance feels like one of those.
The minimalist thing going on.
Yeah, minimalist thing. Like the fields, like. This one is about a plot, but like it's more about letting the actors develop the characters than having it in the screenplay a lot more. And then you have Fassbender, who's terrific here, and Mendelson, who can instantly just give you a vibe once he checks in for like
when he steps
seconds.
in with his coat. I mean, it's like, yes, thank you.
Yeah. And then the shootout at the end is fabulous. Like it is but like just the scenery, the way and like the strategy from both sides is just like really orchestrated in such an awesome way that it happens. And man, I have to say, Cody Schmidt McPhee's death is like all timer here. Like this is amazing. Like he shows that like he's after this girl this whole time. Minute he finds her, she shoots him where the heart is. It's not like where the actual heart is, but it's where the standard like representation of like my heart is, and like she didn't even recognize him, doesn't take any notice, and like then
it's his fault. You don't go charging into the room where the bullets are coming out first.
Then he watches as she's obviously got a fling with this other guy in front of him because a stray bullet hits a salt jar and goes right into his wound, and then she like even like he has to be told who he is, and she's like, oh my gosh, no. Like luckily he still does save her life, but like that is just some comical shit that's just in the middle of this heated battle, and you're like, it's sad but funny, but it's quite a good. It's a great resolution to what we've been building up the whole time. And then there's also the great sequence in the general store thing on the middle of the road stop, and having like when they come out and there's like the kids there, and it's like, oh shit. But yeah, there's just a lot of these scenarios they put in. And the way the actors deliver the scenes really help to inform the characters more than that's on the paper. But man, yeah, I love the cinematography of this movie. It definitely, it's like definitely, with that cinematography, you're like, yep, this is an A24 Western for sure. Yeah, this feels like.
Damsel's another film I'd recommend in this kind of spirit. It's from David Zellner, who did the Sasquatch movie that came out, this Sasquatch Sunset. That one has Robert Pattinson and Maya Wasikowska. It also has a very serio-comic sense of humor to it, and a great like one of Robert Forster's final performances in like an extended cameo. But no, yes, Slow West. When I saw that on the calendar, I'm like, fuck yeah, this movie rules. I was happy.
I was excied.
Not hard for me to be like, let me put that on. Watch this for this now.
Yeah, there's always these like little there was like a little Western because like there's the one Ty West did one like the next year, right, with Travolta in the Valley of Violence or something like that.
Violence.
Yes, with Ethan Hawke and
one of the last times John Travolta was in something that mattered.
I mean, for real.
Basically, Old West John Wick, but it works
very much so. Yeah.
I remember with this movie, I have a little funny tie to it. Was one of my friends, Jen, she was like going to a convention and Rory McCann was going to be there, and she was always asking me like what should I ask him if I go to his panel or something? Because I'm like, don't ask him about the shit they're already there for. But I looked up, so I was like, oh, he's in a movie with Michael Fassbender. It's a Western called Slow West. Ask him about that. And she did at the panel, and he like lit up to talk about this movie. It was all about it. Da, da, da. And then he like found her later the weekend, was like, oh, like wanting to talk more about Slow West with it. So he was really happy with this movie.
That's the best.
Yes. So that's what I said. Like, if you go to a convention, don't ask them about the thing that you came to see them because of. Ask them about something else. That'll stand out more.
That's like when my wife always says that if she ever meets Tommy Lee Jones, she's going to ask him about Man of the House. And I was like, no, he will punch you. He will.
He won't remember, but he'll be like, which fishing trip did I go to between setups during that film?
That's just like what was the Justin did a Justin Beam. He did a movie. He was working on a movie with bonus features for an old movie with Michael Caine, and they got back to him. They're like, Michael will politely decline. He doesn't really remember much about working on this movie and doesn't need to fake it, but he does have fond memories of the kitchen he was able to remodel because of the movie.
He really likes taking note of his expenses.
Yes. So it's pretty funny.
Just one minor thing is not minor. It's like one thing that really works about this movie is when the final shootout comes, it's structured in a way that you have no idea how it's going to play out because narratively it can work in any combination of lives, dies, etc.
Yeah. And it's just bullets flying. And then there's the smart, like burning the field. I'm like, oh yeah, that's smoking them out. I'm like, that's a good move. Like,
one of my favorite shots is the wax paper that she kind of pokes the gun hole out.
Oh yeah,
just kind of looking through the wax paper. You see her eye, and then they poke like another wax paper. Yep. It's just like it's detail like that. That's what.
And there's a guy whose pants fall down. He's just sitting there with his ass out. Like that's just.
And a great ending, like montage of like everyone that's been lost in this that I really appreciate too. I think it's a really
it's really cool. It goes back,
a neat filmmaking choice.
Yeah,
I always appreciate any movie that takes all the work in terms of counting the deaths.
Yeah,
that's why your next has one of the best end credit scenes of all time because of it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. We will move on to From Slow West to our TV ratings for the week.
Oh boy.
For 21 years, I've been watching Survivor. This is the final fight.
It comes down to this.
We have Mike, Jonathan, Romeo, Lindsay, and Marianne. This is the finale of Survivor.
I've been getting played this whole time.
I'm quitting out.
This could make or break my game.
You need to make a bold move.
Wow!
I made a fake idol. See?
The Survivor season finale, Wednesday, 8/7 Central on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
All right. Coming in first this week, any guesses?
The Voice Tuesday night?
Nope, that is number 3.
10,000?
Monday night?
That is number 4.
Who's dancing? Which stars are dancing?
Okay, yeah.
Stars?
Dancing with the Stars on Monday night on ABC. Number 2 is Dancing with the Stars on Tuesday night on ABC.
Of course.
Yeah, The Voice finale part 2 on Tuesday, followed by Voice finale part 1 on Monday. That's number 3 and 4.
Here's
5.
my other thing with The Voice, because I asked you, like, how does The Voice work?
Yep.
The other thing is why I asked this question. I've never seen anyone come from The Voice. At least
I don't think I can't.
Like I know I don't even watch Idol, and I know Idol's winners.
Yeah,
who won The Voice? Like what have they done? I hope they're happy. I hope they're having a great life. I do not know the answer to that question.
That's true. We have to look that up, or listeners just tell us. That'd be good too. Number 5, NCIS Los Angeles on CBS. Number 6, a repeat of NCIS.
Oh, it was a good one too.
Yeah. It was more important than the Survivor finale on CBS.
Of course it was.
And then a number 8, Big Bang Theory repeat on CBS.
Zynga.
Yeah. And at number 9, The Voice live final performances recap on Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah. And then number 10, the Tuesday edition of The Bachelorette, which I'm finding like
TV shows ruled the ratings of television.
Big Bang Theory, Scott.
Well, you
the
know what's
epitome
funny?
of smart television.
The sitcoms, when I'm going through these ratings, they don't do so hot. The ones that you like, all the ABC ones, like the Goldbergs, Modern Family, and like Fresh Off the Boat or whatever, not that great. The CW shows, like, ooh, wow, and like, and I'm talking like this is prime era Flash and whatever, and those aren't. I mean, that's not even. I'm like, whoa, like these are low.
Yeah, especially compared to like 90s when it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like Modern Family at this point like plateaued. Fresh Off the Boat was always a bubble show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, those Fox Sunday night cartoon lineup,
yeah,
might as well be on the CW. Like they aren't. I don't know. I mean, I guess they get it from selling it to
the international
syndication
market.
and streaming, but like so our top 10 here, the highest rated shows, Dancing with the Stars Monday is a 9.1. The number 10 is a 4.9. Like it's like 9, 8, 7, 6, and a bunch of 5. Like 5 is like where things are at, but like like nobody watches Fox. Like all these, like if you hear of a popular show on Fox, like there's nothing on that network doing, like the American Idol can't even place in the top 10 here. But you guys like the TV movies on TV, right? They're coming.
Oh, shit.
So on Monday,
I want to play games, Scott. Gee whiz.
Oh, I thought you were doing a crappy segue to Poltergeist.
No. That crappy segues its own self.
Fair enough.
So on Monday, the CW showed the network television premiere of what 2012 teen comedy movie?
21 Jump Street?
No.
That's actually a pretty good guess.
Oh, yeah.
They were still making teen comedy movies in 2012. Good for them.
How many times did that guy stick his dick in the pie? 2012.
Almost Die was 2006. Chronicle, that's not a comedy.
That's not a comedy. 2012.
Well, I'm sorry. It is not a teen comedy. Sorry, I mixed it up with somebody. Not a teen comedy. It is an adult romantic comedy.
The 5-Year Engagement.
No.
That's a good guess. No, I think that's okay. 2012 adult. Is this an Apatow?
It is not.
Okay. Rom-com.
Think Like a Man?
Nope.
It's a comedy. It's not like a drama like The Vow or anything.
Yeah. Let's okay.
Are we counting Magic Mike as a rom-com?
This director has a film currently that has been in our box office top 10 this summer.
This year?
Bridesmaids.
Not Brad. That's 11.
No, that's not. That's I was gonna say.
No.
Oh fuck.
Is it... Oh my god. Is it something Elizabeth Banks is in?
I don't believe she's no.
Okay, so that's not what you're referring to. It's the director.
No.
So, okay.
The director. Okay, one of the stars of this movie also wrote it.
Also what?
Wrote
it. I'm sorry.
And it's not 21 Jump Street. It's like the great. Okay, let's see. 2012 comedy.
The Guilt Trip? I don't remember if that's I know
Nope.
it's
not.
I mean, obviously the first Jack Reacher.
2012. What am I not thinking of?
Not Alex Cross. His wife gets killed halfway through that movie.
It has Aaron Neuwirth favorite Chris Messina in it.
Oh, well, it has Chris Messina in it.
What?
Is it It's not. No, because that's way earlier. It's not Jules and Julia. That's like 09.
You're kind of there with that title, though.
Kind of there with that title. Okay.
What was the title?
Jules and Julia and Jules and Julia, whatever that fucking movie's called.
and Julia's niece is in it. Maybe not the same Julia I'm referring to, but a Julia's niece is in this.
It's not Nerve or whatever. That's not.
No.
That's not a rom-com.
And you talk about 21 Jump Street.
Ed? Technically, I mean, him and Kunis, that's the arc.
Oh, man. Okay.
Jonah Hill, what was he doing in 2012?
It does not have Jonah Hill.
That's what he was doing in 2012. Yeah. Chris Messina and Emma Roberts in some movie that I'm not thinking of. How could I not know this? I mean, those two?
The Raven.
Oh, yeah. It also has, it does have
3D.
Hold on. It has one of the stars of NCIS Los Angeles in it as well.
Fuck. Okay, what the fuck is Chris? This is weird Chris O'Donnell movie where like he has to spend $1 million. No, that's
way
it's
earlier.
It's not Chris O'Donnell.
LL.
What is LL Cool J doing? I mean,
I don't know who else is on that show.
Linda Hunt. I know she's on the show for a period.
Oh.
I'm guessing she's. I mean, all due respect, I'm guessing she's not the lead in a mainstream rom-com.
Is this like a hit movie?
No, I don't think it was.
Not a franchise.
Not a franchise. Man, this is the longest one.
What director am I not thinking of? It's someone in the top 10 right now. There's a director, and they did this.
Who directed
the top 10 on our show? Though this week their film has been knocked out of the top 10, but it's been on every episode up to this.
It's not Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah,
the weeded one.
This movie made a total of $3.6 million worldwide.
Okay.
So Much Ado About Nothing. That would actually qualify.
It's not Bachelorette, right? That's not it.
It's what?
It's not Bachelorette.
No, that made like $10.
Yeah. Just trying to think of something.
Oh, this is fun.
Okay. 2012 rom-com, not good, or at least not a classic. Is it just? It's not like there's no other genre element. It's just rom-com. Like that's what it is.
I believe it was just a rom-com. If I go on IMDb, it lists it as romantic comedy, drama, and romance.
And Silver Linings Playbook, was that still on the?
There's no Messina or Emma Roberts in that movie.
All right,
was Emma Roberts in this? I thought that was just. Okay.
Yep, she's in it.
Oh, okay.
No Emma Roberts movies.
So is Rob Hubel.
Ew.
This isn't that weird ass Mickey Rourke movie where the kid is like a hitman mentor or whatever.
No.
Not The Descendants.
Though it has one of Mickey Rourke's co-stars from Sin City in it.
That's shockingly unhelpful. Thank you.
That was so unhelpful that I forgot the previous clue.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I mean, you just
do you want me to give you one of the two leads in it?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. Do you want the female lead or the male lead?
Whatever. Just give us one.
Rashida Jones.
Oh fuck.
Was like Celine and Jesse Forever? No.
Oh, you're close. You got one name. One of the names wrong.
Jesse and Celeste Forever.
Celeste and Jesse Forever. My God, guys, don't you guys remember that
I didn't
one?
think that film was high profile enough to have a network television premiere
on CW.
Who's the director?
Okay, I guess it's
the Age of Adeline director.
Oh, of course.
Fuck.
That
was actually. I was like, I wonder if it was that, but I have no idea who directed that. So.
And Eric Christian Olsen is on NCIS Los Angeles.
Obviously.
And Elijah Wood is in Sin City with Mickey Rourke.
Okay.
All right.
Nailed that in less than a minute, according to the edit.
All right. It'll be more. That was more entertaining than Poltergeist.
there are ghost stories. And then there's Poltergeist.
They're here.
We just want our daughter back. The door to their world could close at any moment. I gotta go in and get her out.
Maddie, help me. Poltergeist.
Rated PG-13.
Directed by Gil Keenan. Written by David Lindsay Abair. Based on the 1982 motion picture entitled Poltergeist, screenplay by Steven Spielberg, Michael Griess, and Mark Victor, which is based on a motion picture entitled Poltergeist, story by Steven Spielberg. This movie stars Sam Rockwell, Rosemary DeWitt, Saxon Charbino, Kyle Catlett, Kennedy Clements, Jane Addams, Nicholas Braun, and Jared Harris. A family whose suburban home is haunted by evil forces must come together to rescue their youngest daughter after the apparitions take her captive. In the summer of 82 at 40, we discussed the original Poltergeist. Here we are, many moons, 33 years later, discussing the remake. And just a couple years prior, Insidious showcased what Scott and I like to call rip off, don't remake. And so
the definitive example of that, I would argue.
Right. So Scott, I'm going to start with you. Who directed Poltergeist, Gil Keenan or Sam Raimi? The age-old debate.
Yes. For the record, we are all, I assume, team Tobe Hopper directed Poltergeist. God damn it!
Yes, the one that looks like a Tobe Hooper movie made a Tobe Hooper movie.
Yeah. But as for this film, it's not awful as in, oh no, it's so poorly made, it's blah blah blah. It's a giant who gives a shit. It is polished, it is well made, it is well acted, it is well structured. You can see the money on the screen, but it is boring. It is not remotely scary, and the quote unquote, and I'm being generous here, the new hook of the father dealing with actual economic anxiety, is pretty much forgotten after the first act, I would argue. Which, to be fair, he's got more important things to worry about. But it's and what's really frustrating is that right toward around the end of the second act, give or take, Jared Harris enters the film as a very colorful television star exorcist type character.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically, it's established that he and Jane Addams' character used to be married, and they are flirtatiously sparring with each other briefly. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to see that movie. I don't give a shit about anything else, but I would happily watch that. The two of them just, thin man, whatever, call it, basically a snarkier, bitchier version of The Conjuring, because obviously this movie was greenlit after The Conjuring went nuts. And
that's why Rosemary DeWitt took the movie, because her husband was in The Conjuring, and she was like, "Oh, well, I'll do one."
We can both do these.
And again, it's frustrating because it's not bad. It's just, other than a couple elements there's nothing good about it, and there's certainly nothing memorable. There's certainly nothing. I always joke about the Amazing Spider-Man test, as I sometimes talk about, which is like, if I'm ever in the mood to watch a Poltergeist movie, I'm never gonna pick this one, because there's nothing in this film that is different enough than the first film, and there's nothing that this film does better than the first one. So I'm either going to watch the first Poltergeist, or I'm going to pick one of the sequels, which, warts and all, at least are different. You're not getting just a remake of the first Poltergeist when you watch Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3. So, this is a giant nothing burger. And yes, it is a perfect example of rip off, don't remake, because this summer, I think it's this summer, we get Insidious Part 3.
I believe it's delayed at this point, but it's certainly coming eventually. Yeah.
And this film came and went, and I imagine nobody, barely anyone remembers that it even existed. Unless you get residuals from it. And, good on you for that. Jane Addams. I wish we saw Jane Addams and more stuff. I've always liked her. But other than, seeing her and seeing Jared Harris being fun, and, as prestigious as an actor as he is, he's always been doing schlock when, he feels like it. He's even halfway decent in Morbius, for fuck's sake. But yeah, this is just a completely irrelevant. Why the fuck do you even bother? You can't possibly get enough value out of this remake, even to justify it, as opposed to just rolling the dice on something new or different. And even if it doesn't break out, you still have a piece of quote unquote original art that's of value in the library, which this is useless. The other obvious example is Lionsgate's remake of The Crow, which was, obviously that's just a stunningly bad film in any number of ways, but like that one didn't make any money. It made zero pop culture impact. You get no value out of that title being in your library, as opposed to, you rip off, don't remake, you make something like Upgrade, which didn't make a fortune, but at least that is a title that has an identity of its own that people will discover for one reason or another over the years and may or may not have value in an overreaching library. This remake of Poltergeist is a complete non-entity. The only I haven't even thought about it in 10 years until we started prepping for this podcast. And it's another frustrating example, which we'll get a pretty big fucking example of later this summer, where you have a filmmaker who makes a really interesting original, doesn't have to be original, but original movie. And when Hollywood comes a calling, they say, okay, how about you direct this remake / reboot of this property that's basically the same thing, but with all the pop culture baggage of this established IP. And in this case, of course, I'm talking about Monster House, which was terrific. So instead of having Gil Keanan make something else, anything else, they say, well, you did Monster House. How about you do Poltergeist, which is like Monster House, but not, and nothing comes of it. And forgive me for not double checking, but does he do anything between this and when he ends up with the Ghostbusters universe with Jason Reitman? As I'm Googling to make sure I don't sound like a total moron.
A lot of behind the scenes stuff.
No.
Yeah. And he's
Jesus,
doing those.
It's worse than I thought.
Goes,
he directs
but
one
that
episode of the Scream series. He directs something called A Boy Called Christmas. I have no idea what that is. And that's it. And then he
produces Afterlife and directs Frozen Empire, which that's not helping.
He's
he did write Saturday Night. I like that one.
He's one of those guys.
He gets involved.
One of those guys that's behind the scenes on a lot of projects that doesn't get all the time. He's like a Cap or an Andrew Kevin Walker in that kind of way.
Right.
So it's terrible. Again, it's not terrible. It's just irrelevant in an offensive way.
Gotcha. And Aaron, you were saying this is your favorite Poltergeist movie?
It's when the series finally figured out what it wanted to do. It's funny how the more family-friendly the movies are, the more explicit Scott gets in his language. I don't have much to disagree with what Scott's saying, because I do think it's a well-produced movie that doesn't amount to anything. It's unnecessary. I will say I saw it in theaters at the time. I was excited in terms of, not that I needed a Poltergeist remake, although Brandon, you know this better than anyone. I have nothing against remakes. I only don't like bad movies. But if you're going to make Poltergeist, okay, that's a specific kind of haunted house movie to make, or ghost movie, or whatever you want to categorize it at. And if you're going to tell me Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert are going to produce it with Ghost House, that has me interested. You have the director of Monster House, that has me interested. Problem is just exactly what Scott's laid out. It has all the qualities of what a good movie could contain. Sam Rockwell and Rosemary DeWitt as parents of kids in a movie about ghosts. Yes, that sounds great. Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert like saying go nuts and have fun with set pieces. They're not scary, but cool. That's fun. Like this is a very active movie, and like you said, Scott, the budget's on screen. But yeah, aside from just not offering much in the way of scares, which I think is fair when you look at Poltergeist, even though that movie, yes, 82 was pushing it in terms of how much it was getting away with. It still ultimately is an Amblin film that is fun to watch. That's why it's a blockbuster hit. It was a fun movie for everyone to go into and see. I think this movie, at its best, does try to maintain that tone in a way that I appreciated. I don't need an R-rated gore fest for Poltergeist. I'm happy seeing Sam Rockwell and Rosemary DeWitt be like fun parents to kids that, and they're having a spooky adventure. It's just the execution doesn't really lead to much that works, right? There's not a lot going on here that's effective in terms of terrifying you, or at least making you like jump for a second and then laugh at the fact that you jumped at yourself, because it's not effective in that way. On top of all of that, though, which is just reiterating a lot of what Scott's already covered, my biggest issue comes down to a lot of horror remakes of this nature that are unmemorable in that they're so obvious in what they're doing. Poltergeist, the original, you look at that clown and it's creepy in terms of how they utilize that clown, but I still believe that to be a toy that would exist in a child's room.
Right.
The problem with this, or the Child's Play remake, which I'm also not a fan of, or even Pennywise in the new It, is they're so obviously scary. There's no question that this thing is evil to begin with. So when you see the clown in this movie, it's not a matter of in the right light it'll be scary. It's fucking horrifying to begin with. Like there's no like discerning between, oh, because the ghosts got it, now it's actually scary. No, it's always looked scary.
Well, and it's not even
terrible laughing noise. It does and there's a ton of clowns.
Well,
like it's so over the top with how much it's layering on to begin with that you don't even have a chance to just sit there in a normal state and be like, okay, what's going to be turned into scary? It's already amped up.
Well, the clown isn't even like his toy. It's something that was hidden in that house already, because no kid would have that fucking clown toy in 2015. But they think the clown's so important because they did that last time that we got to carry the clown. So,
but even then, if it was just like an antique clown, those aren't necessarily scary. You can again portray it in a scary way, but it's not inherently scary necessarily. This clown, though, it's got like a creepy nose thing. The laugh is horrific. The face is it's like it's so over the top. And I get it's a movie and it's broad. It could play that way, but it just doesn't give you a chance to like rest with just what this house is. It's just automatically at a 10. Right. It doesn't build up. Or Poltergeist is, for a number of reasons, very effective. It has ways of building towards certain things as opposed to just throwing you right in. And I get that we're in a modern time, so you kind of have that's kind of a nature of things. But you can't do Evil Dead and Poltergeist at the same time. Like those are two different registers.
Yeah.
To be at, and this movie kind of fails in that regard. I do agree, Scott. Jared Harris, Jane Addams, they're great. And I would not expect that. And I will say, as a massive Sam Rockwell fan, who isn't, there's a bit where he doesn't know what to do, and he's talking to Jared Harris, and he's giving him a whole we got to do this and that, and he's sitting there holding back tears, being like, "Well, I don't know what else to do," and it's like, this is too much of a good performance for this movie.
Yeah.
You can so tell he's locked into playing a dad who doesn't know what to do about his missing daughter, and I feel that pain in him. And I don't like that this is the movie he's giving that to. Of course, he'll win an Oscar in 2 years, so whatever. But still, it's fine.
Well, it's a big challenge. I mean, he's taking on the role of what is historically in cinema one of the most popular dad characters there ever had been.
Sure. Yeah,
Craig T. Nelson's in there. And I mean, Craig T. Nelson's career boosts off Poltergeist, of all things. So, I mean, yeah, he's good. But this movie, I don't know. Like you're saying, it's like they want to just do the stuff that they're forgetting all these very important details that enrapture. I'm not saying well, I have to compare it to the first film, but there's a lot of things that made that first film work. When you're looking at remaking what's the core of this, they're missing a lot of it because they're looking at the scare scenes mostly. And I honestly think I like the visual effects better in the original. They're more spooky to me than anything else. But this movie lacks any sense of wonder about the poltergeist. It's immediately, this is fucked up, this is scary. But the people in the house, they have no relationship or curiosity to coexist or learn more like they do in the first one. They don't have the chair scene and stuff. They don't have what is it? Oh, this is interesting.
It
this
rushes through that stuff.
Yeah, it's it's fucking scary. And I mean, they bullshit around the body. They move the headstone stuff. that's like a big revelation. And what the big thing about the original Poltergeist was it was like one of the first, it was the modern house thing. Like it hadn't really happened before. It happened in the suburbs. That was the big important thing. What makes the suburbs? People, neighbors, yuppies, all that stuff. Like this family feels isolated with like no life at all in their neighborhood. The neighborhood's lifeless. Like it's just empty houses. There's no relationships. You can only exist in this movie if you have some relevance to the plot. It's just empty. And like, why is there even a neighborhood? It could have been a farmhouse. Like there's no reason for it to be there. Like there's the scene where like I always remember from Poltergeist where the dad has guys over for the football game and the chumpy guy falls on his bike and his beer spraying everywhere and he takes it in the house and they have the remote problem and stuff like that. Just building life, showing these people who they are and what's being taken from them because of this. Because in that movie, when the daughter's taken, they can't exist with these people anymore because they're having this gigantic problem that nobody's going to understand. And yeah, the neighbors, all that stuff. Like, and it was a thing with like technology too. That they had that they're not really interested here. They're just trying to replicate. Like, there's an interesting way to tell Poltergeist in modern times, but this wasn't it. There's like, how do we do this scene? How do we twist this scene so it's not exactly the same? I kind of like the son going after the daughter. I'm like, that kind of like takes away from the mother a lot here from what JoBeth Williams. Like it really like robs her agency and what she's doing there and what you've seen the whole movie. It's just trying to change
it. Does strand Rosemary DeWitt quite a bit, who is an actress that I think is very good and gets underserved when it comes to giving her chances to do things.
Oh yeah. Big time.
You know, there's supporting roles that she's really effective in certain movies, and obviously indie work that she's good in. When she's given these kinds of chances, the movies just seem to don't like know what to do with her. I will say, as a side effect of that, in this movie particularly, I do think the kids feel like siblings. I will give them that credit. They feel like characters that are both annoying to each other, but also care about each other in a way that registers. And even the teenage girl, which a movie presumably written by men and conducted by men, I still think she does enough to get across the idea that she feels like a realistic teenage girl as opposed to instructed to do certain things that they think what a teenage girl would do. So I give credit to for a film that's coming out of the world of Spielberg, who is great with children. I do appreciate that this film tries to get that going. It tries to have a vibe that works. I agree that it's not lived in very much as far as the neighborhood or even the house. The house isn't even that impressive to me. But like it has qualities that I like. Rewatching this movie, I had no memory of this beyond like the basic.
Yeah, it was gone from my mind.
I had no real I forgot it was 3D until the movie's like, oh yeah, this was a 3D movie. When it really wants to show you that. But there's a lot of stuff that like does work. It's just inside this container of nothingness. So it's like
it's hampered by the fact that it is IP for the sake of IP, so it has to hurt certain beats, and it makes, you guys were talking about the clown earlier, and that's a classic example of something that was just, part of the movie that doesn't mean it's this iconic piece of, memorabilia slash, it's I don't care about however, I like Texas Chainsaw at the beginning more than most people, but I don't need to know how he got his fucking chainsaw. That doesn't matter. And
it'd be nice if it did
as you mentioned, the big
that.
What made Poltergeist interesting 40 years, in 82 was what if there was a haunted house in the fucking Reagan era suburbia? Wow, that's nuts. 2015, what's different about that? Nothing, because we've had Insidious, we've had The Conjuring, that's a period piece, humor me. The core hook is no longer interesting, new, or unique. Okay, so what do you do with it? Do you update it? Not really, because her phone her phone gets broken in the first scene, and they can't afford to replace it. Well, okay, I guess there's no smartphones in this film. How convenient.
It's a Poltergeist movie that effectively does take modern times into account. Evil Dead Rise. Which is an apartment building and has those things to contend with. I think that one, and I think that works a lot better if you're kind of giving it down to a family dynamic stuck in a situation that's very 2022, 3, 4. that one I think is more effective in that regard.
You know, why
it's
did
bloody
they
as
make
hell
the-
and mean, but it's still
Yeah.
doing that kind of a thing and has fun doing it. So,
And you're asking, you know, why did they make the clown so pronounced? Well, because Annabelle had just come out, and so
it's on
you
the,
know, along
clown's
with
the clown's the poster of Poltergeist. Like,
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. But I mean, it's
I'm saying I'm
not
agreeing with
every
you. I'm saying, yeah, they know what they're doing.
yeah. And it's incredibly frustrating because it's then and now it's just the opposite of what Hollywood should be doing. They spent much of the 2010s doing variations on this to no good effect. And now streaming's getting on the act because in this attention economy where the only thing that matters is if people write about it and pay attention to it, well, if people have heard of it, they'll talk about it. And that means it's successful, kind of, sort of, maybe. I don't know. Even though, it obviously is not the summer, but 10 years later, has anyone given any thought whatsoever to the Point Break remake that came out in December of that year?
Daily.
Yeah.
Because it's a silly movie. it's so silly. But no, as far as obviously, it's no Avatar when it comes to cultural relevance, that's for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
yeah, I don't like it.
Useless.
Yeah, it's just kind of a oof.
At least nobody presumably has died from that movie yet, though. So he has got back.
At least we're not cursed. Very good, very good.
I will say, like between Gil Kenan and Jason Reitman, it's better than Men, Women, and Children.
Damn. Men, women, and children.
That said, if Adam Sandler, Jennifer Garner, Ansel Elgort, and Caitlin Dever had to deal with a Poltergeist, I'd watch that movie.
Oh yeah.
That would be good. That'd be good. Okay, well, let's move on to our top 10 ranked Seacrest songs for this week.
Broadcasting worldwide from the heart of Hollywood.
The hits and the stars who make them.
This is American Top 40.
Here's your host, Ryan Seacrest.
Here we go. Seacrest with you. The 40 biggest songs in the USA.
Number 10, GDFR, Flow Rider featuring Sage the Gemini and Lucas. Number 9, Thinking Out Loud, Ed Sheeran. Number 8, Want to Want Me by Jason Derulo. Number 7, Love Me Like You Do, Ellie Goulding. Number 6, Sugar by Maroon 5. Number 5, Shut Up and Dance, Walk the Moon. 8 through 5 have been in the same spot this week as last week. And number 3, Uptown Funk drops a spot. Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. Jumping up one spot, Earned It. Parentheses, 50 Shades of Grey by The Weeknd.
From Abel.
Huh?
From Abel.
From Abel. Yep. Old Abel. Number 2, Trap Queen, holding strong, Fetty Wap. That means number 1 again. See You Again. Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth as Paul Walker's car drives up through the sky for the race wars in the sky.
Once again, Fast and Furious, rip off, don't remake.
Yep. Speaking of Point Break remakes. All right. Our big feature this week, going head to head with Poltergeist, is Tomorrowland.
What if there was a place where the best of the brightest people in the world could build whatever they were crazy enough to imagine?
Tomorrowland. Every major leap in technology came from them.
It exists?
Yes, but if you don't come with us, it won't for much longer.
Come on!
Thanks.
Don't thank me yet. Buckle up!
Tomorrowland, rated PG.
Directed by Brad Bird. Written by Damon Lindelof and Brad Bird on a story by Lindelof, Bird, and Jeff Jensen. Starring George Clooney, Britt Robertson, Raffi Cassidy, Hugh Laurie, Tim McGraw, Catherine Hahn, which I'm calling Han Time Summer in the City, Judy Greer, and Keegan Michael Key having his big Key summer. Yes. So Han and Key decided, let's get another one in. Bound by a shared destiny, a teen bursting with scientific curiosity and a former boy genius inventor embark on a mission to unearth the secrets of a place somewhere in time and space that exists in their collective memory. Brad Bird famously passed on Star Wars Episode 7 to make this movie. It's also George Clooney's biggest paycheck of his career at this time for $25 million. Aaron, Tomorrowland.
So this is tricky because I know Scott's probably going to be overly mean to this movie, and
No.
I have the task of saying like, all right, I like this movie, but I don't love this movie, but it's hard it's hard for me to disseminate what it is that doesn't make this like great for me because I was watching it and I'm like, all of the things are here, and it's an original, and it looks good for the most part, and even when it comes to like the main complaint I think people have, which is its preachiness, it's like, well, the preachiness comes from the villain of the movie. So, like, yeah, I am also against the villain of the movie. It's a weird film that, like, tries to be both earnest and cynical at the same time. And it's like, I don't know how to do that. And I don't think Brad Bird knew how to do that either, which I think is why this movie didn't generate much. It's not a hit. It doesn't have much of a legacy. Everything that's iconic about it is rooted in iconography from a theme park land. So what you're left with is decent to charming performances, an original idea that doesn't quite take off, and not a lot else, which is a shame because we all like Brad Bird, right? He's made very good films, especially in the animation space. He wants to do things that are bucking the system yet playing within their bounds, which I also can appreciate. And yet this giant shot for him to be like, okay, we're at a Pixar, not doing Mission Impossible. Let me do this. Let me show you what I can do given like whatever money. And I have George Clooney here, which should ensure some level of quality. And it just kind of flounders. There's stuff that works in it. The action, when there's action, I think is actually pretty effective. The Britt Robertson performance, an actress that I wasn't very familiar with at the time, like she has the right kind of spunk. And yet I shouldn't like be questioning so much of the logic of this movie when it comes to like a pin that transports you to another place, but you're still in the real world also. And like, I don't know how that works exactly. And I feel like my mind is spending too much time on that instead of the actual thing she's doing, which is being in a magical world. I don't like that I have to like piece too much of this together, and yet I should want to feel that sense of wonder. So it's a real mixed bag that I like give a mild pass to because it exists. But at the same time, it's like we tried, but it's just not like fully there.
I agree. I mean,
I recall you being mean to this movie when it came out. That's what I'm going with.
No, it was a mixed review, but I think my thumb was up at the end. And watching it again, I think the issue is that it is a journey that teases a much more interesting and elaborate and mind-bending destination than what it eventually provides. And partially, I think that's one reason why this is a case where, mixed negative reviews hurt the film financially because, and they knew this, that it's not a coincidence that Brad Bird signed on to Incredibles 2 like a day before the embargo broke. Watching it again, it's like, at its core, it almost feels like a stereotypical 1960s Walt Disney adventure journey film, but costing $190 million.
And also much faster paced than most of those kinds of movies.
Yeah. And I don't want to hold the budgets against it necessarily, but I also think it was a film that was hurt by its quote unquote mystery box marketing, which kind of sold the idea that, again, there were treasures untold that you're not, you haven't seen it, nothing yet. And when you watch the films, this is basically what you see is what you get. And again, that's not a criticism of the movie necessarily. As for the movie, again, my biggest issue with it is that at the end of the day, it waits so long to tell you what it's about, what it's really about, what it's trying, what the heroes are trying to do or what they're trying to prevent, that by the time we start getting answers, there's only like 20 minutes left of the movie, and the solution is gunfight, fist fight, drop a bomb on something. And again, without holding the film's budget against it, if this were like a $40 million live action Disney adventure that came out in 2006, a month after Wild Hogs, whatever. I do think the fact that it was sold and promised as this mind-blowing original spectacular with not just Brad Bird high off of Incredibles and Mission Impossible and Ratatouille, but also, frankly, Disney sort of riding high on, look how good the Marvel movies are now. And even Cinderella is good. So we've cracked this remake problem that we've been dealing with.
Well, and you yourself have pointed out so many times that National Treasure is like their last actual thing that was original. Like, I wouldn't hold it against them to be like, yeah, we spent money on an original thing. That's a good idea. Like,
we made $1 billion making a shitty movie of one of our rides.
Well, and that's the thing is, and I remember I wrote back when, summer of 2020, when there was like nothing else to write about. It's like, as badly as John Carter bombed, as badly as this bombed, Andrew Stanton came back to Finding Dory because John Carter bombed. Brad Bird came back to Incredibles 2 because this bombed. So you add them up and divide by 2. And by default, these films were profitable because they led to the sequels that were incredibly profitable. So, in the same way that like one advantage that Netflix had in this era was that it could treat its entire film library as a cumulative thing rather than each individual release like its own individual small business that was a success or a failure. And, as the box office pundit mea culpa, that's part of the job.
Disney's allowed to work that way too. That's what I could. I mean, say what you will about white guys getting another chance to do things. That's a different story. But in terms of they can afford to take these kinds of risks, like I do want to see that. And if the silver lining is we got a pretty damn good Incredibles sequel, I'm not against that.
And when this film came out, I my big think piece was, no, this did not bomb because audiences were rejecting originality. Stop saying that, trade media. And again, the reasons the reviews weren't very good. They basically said that there are no real surprises of what you haven't seen in the marketing. It's has tonal issues that like our kids gonna be scared by it, they're gonna be bored by it. And again, I think my kids would have been fine with it. They just never expressed any interest.
A PG movie about rocket jetpacks.
Yeah, exactly. Although and again, I don't know if you get around this because you do want a story that has adventure and danger and peril, but I feel the entire rocket ship Eiffel Tower sequence, I'm feeling bad for the security guard that got zapped. It was like, I'm thinking about his family because he just vanished off the face of the earth and they will never know what happened to him.
Scott, are you going to mention the thing that you did really like in this movie?
Rafie Cassidy's performance?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say a star is born, but a character actress is born. How about that?
She's great in the Brutals.
Yes. Oh yeah, she's been in she's been in stuff. Killing the Sacred Deer, etc. And again, this was in the summer of 2015. We're having a real conversation about big films about women and girls. So yes, this film was interesting in that it was this $190 million sci-fi adventure story focused on two main female characters, one of whom was a thinker, one of whom was an action figure. And the fact that the action figure was this snarky, preteen British girl, that was nice. It's, Hermione Granger, whatever. I do think it's funny that people got, again, this was the era of punditry that was problematic that George Clooney's character had a crush on her. Yeah, first of all, she was a robot. Second of all, it was like 40 years ago. I mean, it's not like the character was going to jump her bones right then and there.
It's the kind of thing where Brad Bird treats the audience like adults that can think and process. But if you turn it into a headline and remove every level of content possible, yeah, you can make that sound bad. Like, good job, I guess, writer.
Yeah.
Way to go.
And and again, in the context of the film, it absolutely works because if I can say this as non-equally as possible, if I'm 8, 9 years old, and that character starts hitting on me, yeah, I'm going to remember that. But aside from that, yes, I do like, and frankly, I like the fact that it flopped and nobody blamed, oh no, it's because it had female leads. That just wasn't even a conversation. It just didn't
It was a
connect. And again,
contributing factor, but not the whole.
of course,
thing.
of course.
Right,
And it's really sad that George Clooney is so poor after this movie.
right.
And that's another thing. It's like, again, I don't want to hold the movie's budget against it, but it's like, did you really need $25 million for this?
He probably would have signed on
think-
for 15.
That's quite possible, actually.
He does do things with this,
and
not to like just promote rich people, but like he is an active philanthropist. Like I'm sure it
We
went to
understand
good
that.
things along with his
And-
talent.
and yeah, better to go to him than just the executives, that too. But I think this film has the heart and soul of a very thoughtful, very nuanced, successfully or not, Walt Disney presents Saturday night, family night at the movies kind of adventure. As far as its quote unquote politics and thematics, I do think it comes from a point in time, maybe 10 years ago, when it kind of made sense where what if we gave, what if we let the geniuses run the world? And I think it's also very important that they emphasize not just the tech people, but also the artists and the musicians and the philosophers, because I think that is a key. And again, that's why I've never gotten the whole objectivist Anne Ryan thing with Brad Bird, because at the end of the day, he wants these superior people to use their gifts for the benefit of everyone else. Which, from what little I know about Anne Ryan, seems to be Ayn Rand is sort of the opposite of her philosophy.
Yeah, it's a pigeonholed bird like that.
Yeah. And it's and yeah, you're right. As weird as the big speech at the end about, if only people watched less post-apocalyptic, TV shows, everything would be great. Again, it's the bad guy saying that. So, and I basically I feel the same way that I did 10 years ago, which is that the first two acts, I'm on board with this, even if I don't think every minor choice or every scene works, even if I have nitpicks, I am totally okay. Where is this going? Where is this going? And then it gets where it's going, and it's a big, that's it. And
Yeah.
I think that's my big takeaway, is that it wrote a check, not just to the marketing. I think the movie writes a check that it doesn't even try to cash at the end, where it promises a 5-course prime meal and delivers you a halfway decent greasy spoon entree.
So I was wrong about Scott, and I apologize. So Brandon, why did you hate this movie?
That's okay.
Oh, it's utter trash. I mean, what was it?
Of
course it comes from
Tomorrowland.
Of course it comes from Disney. No, I think time is kind to this movie, because out of the heat of the moment, it's kind of like, oh, look at Disney doing something live action with, scale, effective editing, good visual effect. Like, there's some really
like Tron Legacy.
Yeah, like Tron. Yeah. The visual effects in here, like, really, like, just the mere touching the pin and changing the background is like, you see that all the time, but it works so much better here for some reason. Like, it's bad bird's touch to it all. And I do, yeah, like, watching this movie again, I was like, where is it that, like, this was just kind of, because this is the movie that falls squarely in that we can't just have a fine, good movie anymore. It's got to be the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. And because this one was just fine, like, I think that was, like, a huge issue with it. And it does, yeah, it builds up. There's some, like, stuff that just, like, it's a sensical journey, but I'm, like, willing to give it all these conceits for some, I don't know why, but I'm like, yeah, I guess we're going to transport to the Eiffel Tower because there's a rocket under it to go to the, sure, it's nutty, it's fine. But Clooney's quite good in this, with this role, and just the there's like a zany adventure. Easy for me on this film is I love the Space Mountain Epcot Center sci-fi aesthetic from that era. Gets me, and this movie leans heavily on that. I think the finale of the film, like, I think just it's like what they're aiming for isn't bad. It's how they're presenting it that's not working.
Yeah,
like, you get there, when you get to the finale, as I gotta get what Brad Bird wants to do, but, like, it looks like they ran out of money, and it's like, well, here, I guess Tomorrowland's in shambles. Like, what
It feels very empty, just like Poltergeist, and throwaway dialogue isn't enough to justify why it feels so.
We got all the way here. We're like, humans are bad, man. Like, oh, okay. Humans will be their own destruct. Okay. But like, if he would have like had a place that looked amazing and was going to replace the world, and he was being selective about who, same thing. And he's gonna let the world destroy itself, but he's bringing the people, and he's gonna hurry up that destruction to build his world better. There you go. But he's living in shit. Like, okay, it's like that problem people have with like the Matrix sequels, where they're like, "Who wants to live in Zion? Like, it's shitty." Like his world, which I like Hugh Laurie. It's cool to see him in something like this because for an actor as known and as respected and liked as he is, he's not in much in the United States, I would say, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have House, so it's like
House. House
he's
is his
spent
big
the life
thing
as far as money goes. So it's like
House.
Jerry
and, like,
Orbach used to say, "You spend 10 years on a sitcom, and you never have to work for the rest of your life."
Yeah, he did Veep for a couple seasons.
Then he was on Avenue. So he's with the Iannucci gang.
Yeah. But like, so it's nifty to have him here. But yeah, it has that sense of wonder that the movie wants you to have, the classic, 1960s Disney type of wonder. And it moves really good. It's got fun, like not like super memorable sequences, but sequences I'm like, oh yeah, that whole thing. Like when they went, I forgot about the comic book shop scene or the collector scene with Keegan and Catherine Hahn. I was like, oh yeah, this is where they get a little blaster fight and stuff. But yeah, ultimately just like it leads you all the way there, and just like I don't know, it's like we're gonna have the most amazing ice cream. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And then it's like, okay, what is this like? Well, you pick your Ben and Jerry's pint from the gas station fridge. Like that's kind of what it's like. It's good. You're gonna enjoy it, but it's like you guys built this up a bit.
A thought I had watching it again, I do wonder, and again, the issues are the issues, but I do wonder, does the notion of everybody feeling that we on Earth are doomed and there's nothing we can do to stop it, does that play better today than maybe it might have 10 years ago, where it certainly felt like we were on the upswing of history?
Right.
I mean, gay marriage was a month from being legalized. We all assumed that Captain Happy hadn't walked down the stairs yet, and we thought that progress was slow but on the march.
I know what you're saying, Scott, but the movie wasn't advertised as apocalyptic. It was advertised as this hopeful, optimistic movie about the world of tomorrow, today. Like,
well, I just mean the people who saw the movie. I don't mean like
but they already gave it its money. So I mean, like it's the other people that didn't go to see it to begin with. That's the problem.
Right.
They saw, and I think if you want to lean on the people that did want to go see it, I think a part of that does also come from just the very fact that Brad Bird hadn't struck out. He had made he'd made multiple great classic animated movies. He set Mission Impossible back on the right foot, and now he's making an original film with David Lindelof, who at the very least for people's understanding is interesting. So it's like, how can this miss? And the fact that it wasn't an instant classic and like mediocre at best is kind of the general regard. I think that just pushed it even lower in people's minds. It's like, what happened here? Like, I'm not getting another classic thing from Brad Bird. I think that had an adverse effect right there.
I don't mean about the. I mean, our personal.
I know what you're saying. As far as like the whole.
I get
it. It certainly stung in a way that it didn't 10 years ago.
But the problem is the movie made such a non-impact that we're the only three guys watching and talking about Tomorrowland right now.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's also in the middle of, the franchise era, where you have these mega franchises that are incredibly important and are the only thing people talk about online. And along comes a PG rated, which is not great for live action, frankly, right? That doesn't really help these days. What is this? And Clooney, you've talked about this plenty of times, Scott. He's not a big star in the kind of box office regard. He's prestige. He's added value for sure. If you put him in an ensemble with everybody in Hollywood for 3 Oceans movies, doesn't hurt.
He's got awareness, but not butts in seats.
In terms of name above
his star vehicles tend to cost $25 million total, so they don't have to be.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to break the bank to make money to begin with. So if you're gonna say
And
here he is, much like Robert Downey Jr., you put him in whatever the fucking Judge, that's not selling tickets. You put him in Doolittle, that didn't sell tickets at all, kind of. But like it's just.
But that's another one where it costs you. And again, I don't want to hold the movies. Again, artistically speaking, the movie's not responsible for its budget. But the fact that it was only so is a problem when it cost 190 million and not like $60 million.
When you have lots of evidence to suggest this isn't necessarily going to make that kind of money, and you do it anyway, that's again a scenario where risk cool, probability low.
And it's like, the fact that you risk high, but then that the risk is the failure is going to have aftershocks in a negative way. Like, to use an obvious example, I mean, you can respect the chutzpah of Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix convincing Warner Brothers and friends to give them $190 million to make an anti-commercial Joker sequel all you want. Awesome, fun. It's not my money.
First movie already paid for that movie, so there you go.
That too, but we know that the failure of that movie is going to have ripple effects that's going to screw over a lot of other would-be filmmakers and a lot of other people that are also, frankly, not white guys that are going to try to have more creative freedom in their mid to high budget pictures. So in that sense, damn you for doing that.
The best and worst things that happened to Zazie Beetz last year is not being invited back to either Deadpool or Joker.
Right, yeah.
But
that shouldn't be fun. That's actually really sad. When I look at that, it's really sad to think about.
Well, they don't invite her to Deadpool because then nobody remembered how much better Deadpool 2 was. So, can't have that. But so yeah, I mean, it's in a, especially 10 years ago when Disney is doing very well and taking the kind of artistic risks that, hey, even if Pete's Dragon doesn't make a gajillion dollars, that movie fucking rocks and it makes Disney look good overall. Or, oh no, The Good Dinosaur bombed. Oh, we got Star Wars next month. Who gives a shit? Then this is the kind of fuck it, let's go for it. Whether it's this or A Wrinkle in Time or whatever. And it is unfortunate that they don't seem able or willing to take those swings anymore. Even if they're, spending 120 on the next Tomorrowland instead of 190.
Mm-hmm.
If that, again, it's.
But in terms of Disney rides turn movies, like, or theme park things, like, it's one of the better ones, I guess, by default. I mean, it's better than Country Bears. It's better than Song of the South. It's better than both Haunted Mansions.
1, Haunted Mansion 2.
I like the second. I like the other Haunted Mansion more than this movie.
I respect it more than I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but
better than at least one Pirates movie.
Yes, it's better than one Pirates movie.
Better than 2. Is it better than 5? You like it better than Pirates 5?
Yeah.
All right.
I like Pirates 5, but I also. All told, I like this. I just the third act is so disappointing. That I have to remind myself that I actually completely, more or less enjoyed the first 2 acts.
I'd argue the third act of the Pirates 5 is much stronger, so that's probably why I give it the edge.
There you go.
Fair.
This is not a debate that needs to be happening.
But so Scott, how strong
Tomorrowland versus Pirates 5? Who gives a shit?
How strong was the box office there for Tomorrowland?
Well, again, this is where the budget comes into play because an original action light, unsensationalistic sci-fi melodrama for children opening to 43 million over 4 days should have been, oh, good, neat. But because it was so fucking expensive, it was correctly seen as a disaster. It opened at number 1 over the weekend with 43 million over the 4-day weekend. It was not remotely leggy, as are not most Memorial Day weekend openers. I mean, holiday openers are, unless they really strike a nerve, they tend to make over under double the 4-day total.
Yeah, if you have dinosaurs or jets in your movie, that helps, but otherwise you're screwed.
Yeah. And so yeah, it topped out at 93 million domestic and 209 million worldwide on a 190 budget. So on its face, yeah, it's an old school disaster. And I guess if Disney's going to lose a shit ton of money, I'd rather them they lose a shit ton of money on stuff like this versus, say, and I don't even dislike the Lone Ranger. There's stuff I really like about the Lone Ranger, but that film was made for cynical intentions.
Stop.
What was that?
Hammer time.
Great third act.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, the big God, I forget his name. He was the lead in Battlefield Earth. Barry Pepper. Barry Pepper has a scene in the third act of that movie that basically is America in a nutshell, in a way that just blew my mind then and still does now. But anyway,
and also the action of the third act is incredible. That's the other
too. Oh yeah.
The size of that movie.
The first big action scene in the train is decent. It's different.
The action, because Gore Verbinski knows what he's doing when it comes to. Honestly, if he made Tomorrowland, I might probably like this movie more.
And frankly, if Brad Bird had done The Force Awakens, it might have been a bit more.
It would have more going on. It would just it wouldn't be as
it wouldn't have been reshot and restructured to death.
If he got Rise of Skywalker, this is too much on another thing. If he got Rise of Skywalker though, that would have been great. That could have blown it out of the park.
Well, if he does Force Awakens, I mean, or Episode
Yui
7, he
doing
wouldn't
Rise
have.
of Skywalker might have been better than what we got.
Well, there's a chance.
It's not even a slam against J.J. Abrams, but because it's the same guy that did The Force Awakens, that was sort of forced at gunpoint to try to remake the magic of that film, you have this weird, whatever. I mean, this is.
I'm sorry.
Well, Bird would have probably. I mean, who knows if he would have thrown out Lucas's treatment and whatever. So there's that too. But continuing on, Scott.
Meanwhile, Pitch Perfect 2 was number 2 with 39 million over its fourth one.
Almost taking down Tomorrowland.
Yeah, it was pretty close because the 3-day weekend was 30.8 minus 55%. A big drop, but also it opened with $69 million. And
it cost nothing. So
yeah, it cost like $28 million. 118 over 10 days. It would top out at, I think, 188 domestic and like 275 worldwide. Mad Max Fury Road, 25 million, minus 46%. A decent hold. 88 million over 10 days. It would top out at 371 worldwide, 146 domestic. Again, domestically, I would say it overperformed. Globally, it made money in the end, both theatrical. Poltergeist, 22.6 million over the 3-day portion of $26 million 4-day opening weekend, which isn't bad, all things considered.
It actually does. It actually goes on to do all right. Yeah, that's the thing.
But us bitching and moaning notwithstanding, it's a $35 million movie that makes 95 worldwide. It makes money. It's just, I would argue,
Fox
after theatrical.
Really
what was that?
Fox is good at this.
This is back. I mean, they won market share in 2014. I mean, it really wasn't until late 2015 and then through 2016 where Disney started like taking over the world.
Well, in 82, the original Poltergeist just hung around all summer.
Yeah.
Like, it never left that top. It was just there.
We went theater to theater on Gunpoint saying, don't fucking take this movie out of my screens.
Yeah.
You take this, you lose E.T. End of story. Also, if I recall, there weren't a ton of horror films that summer.
No, there was. It was like there was like a huge gap between Poltergeist and Friday the 13th Part 3 because The Thing bombed, and so basically Poltergeist still being there, so people chose.
Yeah,
so.
It's also a lot friendlier than The Thing. Like, it's a movie that you can take your kids to. You're not taking your kids to be like, "What happens to the dog in that movie again?" Like,
Poltergeist dog is safe. Anyway.
Avengers Age of Ultron earned 22 million over its fourth 3-day weekend, minus 36%. $405 million. What a flop. Superhero movies are doomed. It would eventually, they were eventually, just took a decade. It would do about 459 domestic, 1.4 billion worldwide. Hot Pursuit sticking around. 3.6 million, minus 36%, losing 460 screens. 229 million after 17 days. Far From the Maddening Crowd would expand 576 screens in its fourth weekend. It would earn $2.3 million, up 83% for a $5.5 million 24-day total. If Furious 7 sticking around, minus 22%, or sorry, 2.2 million, minus 38%, 347 at the end of weekend 8. It would top out at around 353 domestic, 1.5 billion dollars worldwide. I'm going to keep saying that this summer because, again, 3 years after Avengers, you have two films that either basically tie the Avengers or make more than the Avengers. 3 if you want to count Star Wars down the line. And yet Hollywood doesn't get that there's more than one way to make a blockbuster franchise.
When they try to take Star Wars and make it Avengers with spin-offs and all that. Yeah.
And look how well that fucking worked out. Anyway. Paul Blart Mall Cop, or 2. 1.9 million, minus 47%, 66 million after 38 days. Home, 1.7 million, minus 31%, 168 million after 9 weekends. In newbie openers, Chocolate City earned $99,000 in 15 theaters.
Couldn't find $1,000 under the couch, you bums.
Nope. $213,000 all told, but it was a concurrent PVOD release. So,
what was its share on BET? That was no, just kidding.
Well, if I recall, Slow West was a direct TV picture. Or at least it was distributed somewhere. Well, was that back when like DirecTV and A24 worked together? I honestly don't remember.
Yes. Yeah. It's in that era. Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Z for Zachariah, or is that after the summer?
Nope.
That's after.
Yeah.
Fair. Just because I read the book and the movie was nothing like the book. I don't care, but it's like, why'd you bother doing that? What was that?
His name was Bill.
Yeah. Slow West earned $67,000 in 50 theaters in its opening weekend. It would earn approximately $1.3 million worldwide.
Crushing it.
Boom. Yes. All right. That's this week at the box office. We have one more weekend of May left for May. Remember, summer 2015 at 10. So that'll do it this week. Thank you guys so much. And where can people keep up with you, Scott?
I am at Puck News. I'm on a semi-regular basis at Puck News is What I'm Hearing newsletter. I also write, run, and maintain the Outside Scoop at Substack. That is my base of operations. I have a weekly podcast called The Box Office Podcast, where myself and other younger, cooler, more culturally relevant box office pundits and/or journalists discuss the weekend box office. I'm on all the socials. I'm on them not all that often, but you can still find me. Some variation of Scott Mendelson, Scott Allen Mendelson. Just, Google it. You'll find me.
All right. So look for Scott on Truth Social. Aaron.
Yes. And Club Penguin.
What is Club Penguin? I don't need to know that answer. That's the same thing. You can find everything I do at my personal Substack page, dakotazeek.substack.com. I write movie reviews for Wheel Entertainment, Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at Why So Blue. I host the podcast Out Now with Aaron and Abe, where we cover weekly movie releases. By the time this is out, this other podcast that I'm now recording should be in full swing, which is called Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla. Fellow film critic Terrence Johnson and I talk about the Godzilla films starting with the Showa era. And I'm on all the socials at Aaron's PS4.
Aaron asking you to come with me to the Godzilla chat there. I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, as well. PopCon coming up June 27th through 29th at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll be hosting and running both the live podcast stage and the podcast awards. Info on that and more at popcon.us. As we say aloha to next week. It's not our fault. Heaven knows what is barely lethal. All that and more as the summer of 15 at 10 continues.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.